humble yourself. You got to admit you blew it. You got to admit that you were wrong.
Bill Glass is a man of peace and reconciliation.
I'm going to try to do better on this. You got to say, I really blew it. Would you forgive me? And would you give me a second chance?
But in the 1960s, some people had a different opinion of the Browns' number 80.
Bill Glass is a man truly dedicated to violence. Bill Nelson of the Steelers is just one of many NFL quarterbacks who know and fear the driving rush of Bill Glass.
Bill was a great player. He was a humongous human being. I think one of the more fearsome defensive ends in the league during his time.
Yet while he was helping to lead the Browns' championship defense, Bill Glass also answered a higher calling. In the off-season, this four-time Pro Bowler studied to be a minister.
A lot of people who are men of the cloth don't mix very well with a hard, violent game as football. But he could fit in as well as anybody.
It was terrifically helpful to both worlds because I would go back to seminary and I would have students or teachers who would be very impractical.
Bill, since you talk of a God of love, how can you play a game of violence?
And I would say to them, if I didn't play with my whole heart, which meant rough and tough, then that would be a bad reflection.
I realize that I'm representing a cause.
Because I was trying out this Christianity on a practical basis, on a daily basis, in the rough, tough world of pro sports.
Today, Bill Glass combines those lessons of spirit and sport. For nearly 3 decades, he has led the largest prison-only ministry in the country.
When anyone does prison ministry, you can't just do that and fake it. You know, you got to spend time, you got to have credibility, you got to have a desire, and you got to want to help people.
I've been in more prisons than any living human. I've talked to more inmates than anybody that ever lived. But one thing I've discovered, gentlemen, there are 2 types of inmates in prison. There are those that give up, and there are those that say, I'm going to prove that I can make something worthwhile of my life. You get the end of your rope, you tie a knot and hang on. Never, never, never give up.
He's dedicated to it, and he's having some effect on individuals who need religion in their lives or who need that spiritual thing.
And everybody I meet in prison is in crisis, so they're all open to change. And what I say to them is, don't bet against God. That's a stupid bet.
You got one main compound over here area. You got Roeder, Kentucky State Reformatory, Luckett, and the Psychiatric Center.
To visit prisons across the country all year long, the Bill Glass Weekend of Champions calls on 23,000 volunteers. And a roadshow of athletes, entertainers, even bikers and former convicts brings the ministry's message to the prisoners on their turf.
We want to appeal to the total inmate population. And if you go into the chapel, you might have 5% attendance. And if you go out on the yard, you have 95% attendance.
Now I want you to sing it out with me, then real loud. The man knows my number, but Jesus knows my name. I may spend my life behind these bars, but Jesus has loosed my chain.
I think they need to understand that we care about them no matter what.
It's our way of showing, letting y'all know that there is people still thinking about y'all out there.
Right. There are people who have needs just like anyone else, and everyone can change.
He forgives us, and he doesn't care whether we lied, whether we stole. Each one of us have a new day today.
About 80% of the crime that's committed is committed by ex-cons. So if you're going to have an impact on the crime problem in this country, the only place to go is to the prisons. You've got to start by changing the hearts of the inmates themselves.
As long as you have life, you can make that switch.
You're my sister. How about that? I'm your brother.
What we've discovered is that if an inmate makes a genuine commitment and then is followed up, recidivism, return to prison drops to 10%.
You know, some men it changes them. I don't want to be melodramatic, but some men it changes their life. They make friends. They realize that they are worth something.
Now is the time to start planning on what you want to do with your life when you get out of here.
The volunteers make those contacts and they continue the contacts, and that's important for a lot of these men that have had no other outside contact. So yeah, it's long lasting.
In other words, I have a peace, even though I know I'm still locked up. And my body is still locked up, but I have a peace within my spirit, within my soul.
I'm convinced that the one common denominator among criminals is, especially violent criminals, that they had no blessing. They had no father relationship. They don't get along with their father in the home, and so they don't get along with any authority. And the way you keep your kid out of prison is to bless him. And too many fathers don't really know how to bless their sons and daughters.
How do you say it? You communicate three things: love, value, and belonging. Say it with me: love, value, and belonging. How do you do it? You do it with a touch. You grab them and you hug them. And I said, you're mine, and I'm glad you're a winner, and I'm proud of you. I love you, and I think you're terrific. And they never do feel they really belong until their father makes them feel it.
Those counselors that go with us become the substitute father or the substitute mother to the inmate.
I don't understand, dear Lord. I need your help. I can't do this by myself anymore. I'm scared, and I'm lonely, and I'm confused. I don't know who else to turn to. I need you in my life.
That gives that inmate a feeling of worth and a feeling that someone cares about him and a feeling that he has attachments.
Thank you. Thank you.
That he's not just a lone wolf out there fighting the world.
As a football player, Bill Glass waged war.
Hi, how are you?
As a minister, he makes peace with people the world has forgotten.
My father, he never said he loved me at all when I was growing up at all. And when you were saying that, tears were rolling down my face because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, really hurts, doesn't it? Yeah. God bless you.
I sing hallelujah, will I be able to speak at all like an only